Can you imagine being in Africa with a girl that you've been dating for a while? She's in the shower and she's coal black. I mean, coal black, and this water's just coming off her body. I wanted to take a picture of this Noel that I was dating for about 2 months in Africa, in Togo, West Africa, because it's still a dream, it's a vision, it's a thought in my mind of a moment in time. Um, in the movie The Beach, at the end of the movie, they show everybody jumping on a picture, and it's like for one moment in time you're in heaven, and this is what imagination does in a way. But I'm going to tell you a few things that I did. I was on the back of an elephant in the Chitwan forest. It's kind of remember. I think it's in Nepal, but um, it's in the lower part of Nepal, almost in India, and we got on the back of elephants and we were chasing rhinos, okay? Because the elephant is the only animal. See, but the strongest animal really is the elephant, and the lion and the rhinos, which have a big nose with the big, are afraid of the elephants. And I was in the back of these elephants while they're taking a 4-inch tree and ripping it too and pulling it out of the ground. Okay, it's absolutely one of the greatest experience I had. One time in the gym in Indiana University, me and this other guy who was extremely competitive went to the kind of like the athletic center, and we were jumping, high jumping, and I literally, and that day I jumped my height. I jumped over 6 feet high. To jump over your height is something you remember for the rest of your life. Okay, the memory of going between Kathmandu, Nepal, and Pokhara. They have these beautiful mountains, right? You're really the the mountains in Nepal are really beautiful, and then you have the snow-capped mountains, and then you're going to Pokhara, which is a little village. It's on a lake, and it's just wonderful because you're seeing them do terrace farming on the side, and the colors are just spectacular. Um, but I have done so many things. I mean, going to Iraq sounds like not what you would consider a thing, but what I do is I conquer cities, I conquer countries, I conquer the places I go to. The absolute most addictive thing of my travels is I enjoy entering a city with no knowledge whatsoever of that city and conquering it, finding a great hotel and approaching it in a way strategically where I figure out the best area to go look for hotels. Then I walk and look at the hotels, and I have different ways to do this. So I have all sorts of tactical strategies, things that I do to conquer a city. But you got to conquer your life, and once you get good at conquering your life, conquering your imagination becomes a reality. And once you believe you can do anything, then it's good. But believing you can do anything doesn't mean anything. Napoleon Hill said a really good quote, which I read when I was, I don't know, 20 years old. But the mind of man can conceive and believe he can achieve. So if you can conceive a dream, in a way, what people dream of is sort of what is possible. The hard part now is we're going into this fantasy world where people they're just living in a fantasy. They're never, ever even thinking about it. And I've been studying Henry David Thoreau's, I've been baffled. I mean, I interviewed Laura Dawsall Walls, who wrote the book A Life, and it's a bunch of videos back, and about Henry David Thoreau. She wrote a biography of him, and I have been baffled, truly, why I love the book. Okay, I mean, I've read this book like 5, 7 times, and to apply my brain thing. But what he did is he gave an imagination. He fed our imagination of living in a little one-room cabin on a lake in the middle of nature, and this is a dream of a lot of people. Okay, now that totally evaded me. Okay, I'm sitting there going, That's not a big deal. Okay, to me, I'm a farm boy. Going and building a cabin on the lake is just, I can do it with my eyes closed. But I was more interested in his idea of economy, that he only worked 1 day a week, or he believed that for 5 years he only worked six weeks a year. And I truly believe in this sort of economy. Um, but a philosophy of imagination. I want you to dream what you can dream. Okay, so I could talk. I mean, if what's interesting, one of the things that I keep trying to explain, if people put me in their guest room and gave me a month in their guest room, I could talk about most all of their dreams, okay? And in real, not just talking, I could actually say when I was there. A person was talking to me the other day about the Doors, the guy, Jim Morrison, that died. I said, yes, I was in Paris, and I went and looked at his grave. I don't make a big deal out of it. What am I supposed to say? I had an experience that was great. Well, what I always remember, and what was funny is, I like the French. I mean, the French are really pretty easygoing in a lot of ways, and they're not in a hurry to make money. Okay, This is not a make money culture. It's a set. I mean, Vietnam is a French kind of colony, and the French always have these chairs out front where you sit there, and you see it in movies all the time. You see these people where they're sitting in there like at a coffee shop. I've been to these places. They're real, okay? You sit there and the girl walks by and you go, you look at them. Life is good, okay? And there's all these things that I've done, but my imagination's a lot different now. The worst thing I think you can do for your imagination is watch YouTube videos, okay? Watching YouTube videos where they're showing an unreal reality, okay? Because you'll never get it. It's like I watched a lot of YouTube videos on City Soleil in Haiti, thinking it was one of the biggest slums on the planet. When I went there, it was a very organized place, it was ridiculous. It was not even slightly a slum. But they were calling it a slum because the amount of violence, they put like 1,000 families in this home, this area. They built it up, and then they were going to give them all a job on the docks. And then they canceled the job, and they act like, screw you, no big deal. And so they decided to get back, and they started kidnapping the rich people. It is a lot of the problem in Haiti is the rich people are complaining about the people, and they're really complaining because they've been abusing the people. The rich, and you got a really big separation between rich and normal there. And when they get upset, they just start robbing the rich people, which is, they deserve it, okay? But if you can conquer today, can you conquer today? Does that make any sense? I have been years, I was trying to get my partner to go for a completion high. I was very lucky that I worked for a farmer, Emery C. Spade in Orland, Indiana for 7 summers. Because when we went to do something, we finished. It wasn't even a question whether we were going to finish. So we were going to go bail the back 40, and we were going to start and finish, and we were going to do it. It wasn't a question of will you do it. It was a question, just got to go do what we do today, right? When I worked for John Rousseau Concrete Construction in Fort Wayne, Indiana, he had a simple policy. Whatever you go to do today, you come back finished or don't return. Okay, to return as a crew leader without finishing your cycle for the day, you were a nothing. He got rid of you. Okay, he didn't get rid of you. Put you in, pulling cement or something like that. But to be a crew leader, your goal was never come back. I mean, I've literally stayed on a concrete job till 4 a.m. Okay, because you couldn't go home until you had your job done. In the winter, when it gets cold, it takes a long time for the cement to thing. But we have to find people that can finish what they start if you're going to go after your imagination. So a philosophy of imagination is worthless unless you put it into some sort of use. I mean, why would I care about you dreaming about? I mean, I got the one guy who's dreaming about Kuala Lumpur, which I hate this city, and I'm listening, going, okay, and I'm going, okay. You're watching a bunch of videos that tell you that this is heaven or something, and it's just, not my place to go. I don't really want to talk about it. On the other side is I don't want to discourage his dreams because you never know. I left La Paz, Bolivia, and I went to Chile to the beach where these surfers were at, and these two people came in and told me of this great hotel, and I returned to La Paz, Bolivia, and stayed for 2 months because they told me the right place to go to have the wonderful life. Elysium, that's the word in Greek, to be in heaven. Okay, sometimes I'm absolutely in heaven. I mean, the other day I walked into the gym here in Colombia, and there was like 6 women with these bubble butts, right? And I thought, thank you, God. What I need is motivation, right? And I need the hope of love, okay? I need the hope of companionship to make me lose weight, to exercise. And this gym is 80% women. And interestingly, they're all working on making this big butt. Okay, it's really interesting. But how do I conquer today? And that's really quite simple. It's a brain dead easy thing to do. You have a goal today that is not going to the dentist, not going to buy coffee because you need coffee. It's things that are proactive instead of reacting. I think Friedrich Nietzsche was talking about this. All these videos of Friedrich Nietzsche have got to be one of the most boring things I've ever seen. And I think he's about the only philosopher who acts like go get a life. And, Schopenhauer and all these philosophers are absolutely suicidal. Okay, they act like life is torture. Life is not torture. I mean, life is only torture because you're doing the wrong thing. Okay, and if you're watching philosophical videos that act like they're your father, why are you watching it? Is that who you really want to act like? Is your father? Or you want to be this really stoic, depressing person? But conquering today is real easy. And I have many, many, many ways to conquer the world, because all you got to do to conquer your mind is get the correct ideas into your mind. So I'm always working on a project. So right now I'm working on vitamin D, making sure I get my 3 hours. And because I've calculated to get the 5,000 international units. So this is just one of my sub goals. Rick was talking about this a Fryman guy that was a physicist, says everybody has 10 different projects. And I sit there and I go, I didn't know what to say. I probably have over 200 different projects at least, minimal, that I'm working on in some level of thing, and they're moving up and down according to different things. And I work on 200 different things. My number of, well, it's more than that. It's probably like 300. I don't know. I don't count them, right? But I have a database of just my inventions and my businesses to start, and that's 125. I have 125 types of businesses to start. But how do I conquer the day? It's not complicated. I take out my index card and I put 3 things proactive, not reactive, not something I need, but I put them on this card, I write them down, and I walk out and I go do these things. Now, what's interesting about it is on the way to doing a lot of these things, I do other things that I might have put on the list tomorrow. But I break down things simple into places I go and things I buy, and it's not very complicated. But it's complicated because nobody has ever accomplished something unless the boss told them to do it. And then if their wife tells them to do it, they do it. If their husband tells them to do it, they do it. Other than that, they don't work in a kind of a directed manner. So discipline is not doing something that you don't want to do. Okay, if you're trying to do something you don't want to do, you should try to turn it into something you want to do. Okay, like I want to go to this gym every day because it's a target-rich environment. It's really good for my imagination, and the moment I look at one of these girls that's much more cut than me, I imagine myself as I was before. And every day I go weigh myself over there where Vivian, one of the best exercise people, this woman's 38 years old, and she is so cut. It's ridiculous. Makes me think. I remember working out in the gym in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and all the women were much better at working out than the men. And it seems to be that women have an understanding of how to shape their body, and these men, they just get meathead big, right? And I hate gyms like meat. And this is the first gym in my about the first gym I've ever been in 26 years of living abroad, basically, that it's not, like 90% meathead fat guys with a big barrel chest that are pumping and have no clue what they're doing, okay? But I have three things in my card, and the art of choosing these three things that you do, and you don't make them. None of these things that I put on my list ever take more than about 10 minutes, okay? So I'm accomplishing 10 minutes worth of things, three things a day, and I accomplish it. If I ask a person to do me a favor and watch a video, they can't even do that, okay? They watch half the video and then they're like, whatever. Now, why are they not watching the video? It's because they are confused. They are going from temptation to temptation, reaction to reaction, instead of trying to say, I'm just going to put in the time and watch it. I've been watching Friedrich Nietzsche videos till I'm blue in the face, and almost all of them are repetitive, so I keep learning the same thing over and over. And then I make a playlist of it. But imagination. So the value of me talking to a person is for them to start telling me about their dreams, and I can sort of make them into a feasible reality. And but if you conquer today and you do just three things a day, you're doing better than 99% of the other people. I've had hundreds and hundreds of people work for me, and the only way to force them to finish what they do is to stand and say, basically, don't come back until you get it done. Okay, but I want you to find your mentors. There's mentors. And I've learned that the best mentor that you could ever have is a person that can explain how the gas internal combustion engine works. Because that person understands how to put together something. If you can't explain what makes the United States great, the car, okay, if you can't explain the simplest basic idea of the combustion of the internal combustion of an engine, I don't think you should be walking around, okay? You didn't pay attention to school. You didn't learn anything along the path. You are just putting in your time, okay? But the person that made a decision, there's 5% of people that listen and make a decision to learn it, and then they go apply it. And I've overhauled many engines, and I can overhaul an engine with my eyes closed, especially a small little five horsepower Briggs & Stratton motor. I mean, when somebody starts talking to me about their motorcycle and they don't know anything about the engine, I'm like, why are we talking? I mean, come on. I asked a guy the other day, they have this new type of magneto type situation, or electrical generation, where it's heat generation. And I was trying to put these heat generation things that create electricity out of heat, and I was trying to hook them onto, in Africa, they cook with wood, right? And I would hook them on the side so they could, I wanted to do this so they could charge up their smartphones. Because all they really want to do, most of the world, the only goal they have on electricity is charging up their smartphone and a couple lights in their room so that they can basically walk around before they fall asleep. But the love of wisdom, this is wisdom to understand how things work. And that's what a wise person teaches you, right? When you're talking to them, they say, this is how people behave with each other. And the person that's not wise is telling you something that you are not capable of doing. They're encouraging you to not take baby steps. When I listen to people, I'm trying to go, can you take the easy step forward? Right now, I'm telling a friend of mine, go to Lake Athlon and park it for 6 months. Will he listen? I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's not my responsibility. But I know I'm giving him good advice. Find your mentor. To find a mentor is somebody, everybody has, like Rick was talking about, they have Feynman, this physicist, said you have 10 things you're working on. You got to find a mentor for each one of those things. So like in the gym, Vivian is sort of my mentor, and Diago is my mentor over there. I've grabbed some mentors. people that I can ask questions to on workout. Now, sadly, in the gym, I know probably 10 to 50 times more than anybody in this gym, which is actually, it's just kind of normal because I worked out for 20 years every day of the week for almost 20 years. And I read Muscle Fitness magazine in the bathroom, favorite place to read this type of magazine. And then I would get on the treadmill and I'd read more of the workout. And the great thing about workout people is they eat to be the optimum health. You can't get super bulked unless you work on what you eat. Okay, but so 20. How many hours is that? 20 years times 365 days times 2 hours a day. That's how many hours I thought about exercise. It's interesting though, but every place you go, every gym you go has a different set of equipment and different group of people focusing on different things. But as a rule, there's things that I make a habit. There's things that I make routines, and there's things that I do. And I try to do my habit things every day. And I'm so habitual about things, it's ridiculous. I wake up, check my email, start writing something. Been doing it for 26 years, really, and in 114 countries. But imagination. So the hard part here is people, when they imagine, normally they go for the debaucherous stuff. Okay. They imagine a woman, okay? Or they imagine, I got, this guy sent me a bunch of sort of sexist videos about Colombia. And I was laughing because they really are the girls here. But on the other side is you're focusing on something you're never going to do. And you're searching around looking for pictures of girls. He watches a lot of videos in the Philippines. And why are you mentally masturbating if you're not going to do it? This man has the capacity to do it. He has the money. But let's talk about that. What is the number one reason why people don't achieve their dreams, their bucket list? Why don't you achieve your bucket list? You have an imagination of being in India and at an ashram and going on a 5-day fast and doing yoga. Why don't you do it? You have a dream of going to skiing in Colorado, and why don't you do it? You have a dream of whitewater rafting. Why don't you do it? I have a dream of going and seeing a moose. I want to see mooses. I want to go live in somebody's guest room and go see moose. Whether it's in the Yukon or wherever it's at, wherever they got mooses. Okay, I think they have them in North Dakota and stuff too. I don't know, but I keep thinking about it and I dream about it. I go, a moose is so big. They're so tall. And I dream about the moose. Okay, this is one of my bucket list things. My bucket list is to go to Edinburgh, Scotland and study my name. And I have a bucket list that I'm always working on. But what's different about me is I do not study these locations. Why would I destroy the enjoyment of going? Because the people that are making these videos are not making them reality. They are totally fictitious, okay? Very few people. I will not watch travel videos because all they're going to do is give me a world that doesn't exist. Because 99% of the videos are trying to make money and they're not telling the truth. If you want to know when a travel video maker or a travel writer is lying, his mouth is moving, he's writing, or he's making a video. Because 99% of these are unbelievably liars. That people accept that you should lie to make money. The whole United States, 99% of people will not even criticize you. I sit on this group of 15 major travel websites in the United States, and two of these guys were stealing photos from Getty Photo, and everybody's acting like it was okay, and I said, it's theft. I was ashamed of these guys. They were very skilled. They learned a lot of stuff, but they were thieves, right? And I know which websites they were, and I knew that almost every one of these websites were stealing information and republishing it because all they cared to do was make money. They didn't care about actually traveling. One time, Tim or whatever said they were asking. I had chickens. I was in Tokoradi, Ghana, and there was chickens. We were on this phone, right? And conference call phone, and I had a chicken in the background, a rooster, right, really crowing. And this lady Beth, she said, "What's that? What's that chicken?" And I finally said, "I'm in Ghana, and there's a rooster outside." And she goes, "Why would there be a rooster outside?" And I go, well, Tim finally goes, because he really travels. I mean, because if you have never heard a rooster, and you don't think about roosters or dogs barking or people coming back to the hotel drunk or something, you have not traveled, okay? And I was like going, this girl's just out. She's in California, and she's out. She's selling dreams, right? She actually does tours, and I don't think she ever once understands the place where she's going. And this is embarrassing. But I'm embarrassed when somebody sends me a video. They send them to me all the time, videos of travel videos. And most of it's about sex or things. I mean, very few people are actually going like, hey, look at this guy. Andy, I know you're interested in solar-powered sewing machine. I think they should have solar-powered sewing machines. One of the bigger businesses in most of the 200 normal countries is sewing. They make clothing, right? It's just natural. You need clothing, so they sew it. And if they had solar-powered ones, 25% of the planet could have a job. But philosophy is about misery. So the reason why people hate the word philosophy is because it's, anything they watch is some pompous ding-a-ling using a bunch of words that they don't understand, and they don't say it in their terms. And if you're talking in a language and using words like epistemology or metaphysical or I don't know, all these different terms, and you don't explain that word in simple layman terms, you're not really helping. Sometimes the words are needed, but 90% of the philosophical terms, like Übermensch is a term by Friedrich Nietzsche, and I go, when they started out Superman, it makes sense. But they like to say Übermensch because what it means is, I know this word and I'm making you feel stupid. Maybe it gives some people the goal to learn, but 90% they just lose it. When I watch a Stoic video and they're how it is, I'm sitting there going, why are you taking my philosophy, my desire to be a philosopher, and turning this up into a bunch of angry old men? Why do you do that? Then you put music in the background that's annoying, because then I have trouble concentrating because I can't really multitask my brain that way. I'm not doing it. I'm trying to make a decision to learn these quotes. I'm trying to internalize them. I hit K on a PC computer and it stops the video and I can think about it. I hit K. Do you know K? Do you ever stop a video? How many times have you watched a video? I've watched some videos I really wanted to sink in 20 times. Okay, but misery is not the goal of you. Nobody has the goal of being miserable except for philosophers. And if you look at philosophers, there was always these guys with big beards, kind of fat, and looking like they just got out of the library. And I go, are you the Superman that these people are going to dream of becoming? Of course not. I was going to become a philosophy teacher or a psychology professor. And every one of these people, there was none of these professors that I would ever want to be like. I mean, one professor taught existentialism, and maybe my symbolic logic professor. These were people that I respected. The other 90%, I was like, you guys are a waste of human flesh. And that's not what we want to be. You want to imagine a Superman, an Übermensch. You want to, Plato talks about this, the dream of a perfect world. And that's imagination. But there's a difference between a fantasy, but the philosophy, the love of wisdom, is to hang around with wise people that you want to be like, not somebody you want to learn from. Hanging around with miserable people that you don't want to be like is hanging around with losers. define yourself. You don't want to be defined by another person's hero. You want to be the hero of your life. Charles Dickens wrote the book David Copperfield, which I am never going to read a David Copperfield book because his vocabulary is 10 times better than me. I have to look up every word, right? But I love the movies. A Tale of Two Cities, right? But David Copperfield wrote, whether I should be the hero of my life or that station held by anyone else, these pages will tell. I'm the hero of my life. I don't care about anybody else on the planet except my own heroine deeds. But you can. Then I'm watching these videos that the more quotes that they say, the more things they allude to, supposedly the smarter they are. It doesn't take much brains to quote things. It takes a lot of brains to actually put them into action. There's a difference there, right? And that's why I always said conquer. I gotta say it in English. Conquer the day. To be in Spanish, it'd be conquer the day. See, the O is like oh and oh my. I'm amazed at how many people learn Spanish and never learn how to pronounce the word. It's real easy. You go to Wiki Travel, search for Spanish phrase book, and it's got all these memory cues on how to do it. Like A is ah in father. E is like the sound, the letter I is like the double E in the word see. And you go through this stuff. And if you can't say these things, you can't do it. But I remember Noel in the shower. I mean, every time I go to Togo, it's like, the girls are coal black. I mean, they're not mixed. They're not like Obama that's, half white. They're black. And the African body is, especially in Togo, I mean, the body changes. There's like 53 countries. I shouldn't wrap Africa up in one bag, but Africa, maybe Ghana, Ivory Coast, and Togo and Benin, they have this body where they got like almost an extra muscle on their butt. And you can grab this muscle, and it goes around their cheek, and it's like a bubble butt of dreamland, right? But imagination. I had 3 major people that taught completion. And does your father, if you came from a family where your father just showed up for work and never did anything, if you never really accomplished anything, like my mother and father, they, if nothing else, they remodeled their houses. They remodeled the house on North Street, and they remodeled the house on a lake. They remodeled 4 houses in their life. Completely took them from nothing to really nice. And that was sort of their hobby, right? And most people, their hobby is their house. Now, the problem with a house is something that anybody can do, and you don't get to rise above the fray, right? But my mom and dad, Emery C. Spade, John Rousseau, working. I worked for I've only worked really for 2 people in my life, really. And both of the places I worked for had a standing policy, finish what you start. And it's really great when you go out and conquer the day and you put in 15 hours and you get it done, okay? And physical labor is a thing. Like I've ran, when I was in high school, Prairie Heights High School, the track coach took us in a bus outside because I was a pole vaulter and high jumper. He dropped me off, I think, about 10 miles out. And I ran all the way back. I didn't stop. I didn't walk. It was cold and my feet were freezing, but I ran 10 miles. It was an accomplishment. But you start what you do and you finish it. That's all you got to do to be able to achieve your dreams is finish what you start. But the art, people are so, 19% of people are incapable of forming a goal and doing it. Why? Because they bite off more than they can do. It's so dysfunctional to plan on doing something, making a list of things and not accomplishing it. All you're doing is depressing yourself. But fantasies are different. So Henry David Thoreau lived in this hut, this cabin, this 9 by 15, I think it was, cabin. And I was sitting there dreaming about this, and I also was dreaming about tiny houses, and I go, wait a minute, what am I doing dreaming about tiny houses? I only care about building tiny houses if I'm going to make a, 40 house unit development. Um, Really, all I want is to live in a small room for 3 months. And I bought a tent last time I was home in the United States, big enough for me to stand in. It's really a 4-man tent. And I'm going to live in a tent in Indiana. I'm not going to tell people where I'm at anymore. But in Indiana, I'm going to live in a tent on a lake, and I hope they got a rowboat. My sisters, one of my sisters got some skidoos, one of those wave runners. Maybe I get her to let me use it. I don't think they use it that much, right? People buy this stuff to have it, not to actually use it. Fantasy is doing nothing to achieve your goal. So are you delusional? Fantasia? Are you actually have an imagination? Imagination, fantasy, and think. You want to work towards all your dreams. But a lot of people live in one big fantasy world with zero attempt to put it in. And I think it's learned helplessness. Okay, learned helplessness is that you failed so many times that you don't even dream that it's possible. I mean, in Plato's allegory of the cave, he talks about this, but man, they word it so stupidly. You get learned helplessness. You become enslaved to the world you're in. People go to their job and believe that they cannot travel the world, they can't do anything, they can't even go on a vacation. They believe that they can, then what do? They spend $500 on the weekend. They could have bought a round trip. One of my friends lives in close to Orlando, and for $204 round trip, he can fly to Medellin, Colombia. Wow, what a cheap thing. I don't like to tell a lot of stories of my accomplishments because it sounds like bragging. And I guess how much money I live on a month. Well, it's about $850 right now, but I have Social Security of $450 that's given to me that I can use and spend, and then I have like 200 of it taken out for full coverage insurance. And then now my Patreon is been, the only people who are going to learn where I'm actually at and what I'm actually doing are my Patreon members. And I was talking to Rich today. I guess I could put up videos and what I'm doing and put them only on Patreon. But I got these people that are trying to be free on Patreon. And I don't know what that is. It seems like a scam, right? I haven't figured it out. But who cares? I'm going to make a walled garden where nobody gets to me because I want to live in heaven. I want to make heaven on earth. That's what the Lord's Prayer says. Let our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That's the goal, to make thing. Even if you don't believe in God, it's still a good goal, making life heaven. But I live in my brain. It's a safe place. Is your brain a safe place? There's many of you that your brain is default setting is misery and fear. And I think the fear is because you don't believe that you can accomplish or conquer the things that come your way. Like I have conquered, I don't know how many cities, 114 years, I don't know, 114 times maybe 115 times, 114 times maybe 20 cities is the number of cities I've conquered. You could travel the world. Right now, it's becoming ridiculous. I can't even imagine living in the United States because it's just a poor value for my money. It's a poor life. Is this what my life is? Is working so I can pay my rent? Or am I working so that I can go enjoy life? Is the most enjoyable thing I do showing up for work? I now say to people, do not retire, because they are only 1 in 20 or 1 in 50 is capable of adjusting to retirement where they actually have some meaning to their life after their boss stops giving it to them. Existentialism is the idea that your existence defines the reason for living. When you have a God, the God determines the thing. On the other side is I've never been really good with the God thing because I'm not sure why God wants us to worship him. I do know that being a good example of human flesh is, I agree with that. Ten Commandments, love thy neighbor. Stuff. These are all great logic, whether you're atheist or agnostic or whatever. It's whatever you believe in God or don't believe in God. Just great idea. Make the world a good place. But I live in my brain. And one of the things I see in people's imagination, they're not living in their brain, they're living in somebody else's brain. They're living their life through somebody else. I have had people that say many, many times, Andy, I live vicariously through you. And I'm hoping that it's just a jump until they actually go and make it a reality. I always laugh at people. They need society. They need the boss to tell them what to do. They need their wife to give them a meeting. They need their children to give them a meeting. They need the church to tell them what to do. Henry David Thoreau was talking about the individual choosing the life. Why are we in such desperate haste to succeed in such desperate enterprises? Walden, it's a brilliant book. He basically describes a fantasy life or imaginary world. But what his book, the reason why it's famous is simple now. I realize it's really quite simple. He actually defined a world that everybody can actually go do. There is a feasibility to make it a cabin. And then that gives them hope that there is a feasible thing. For me to, go to Iraq, that's not really feasible for 1 in, I don't know, a million travelers, right? Is going to go to Iraq. Going to 100 countries, it's just not in the thing. If you want to meet women, the last thing you should do is travel to many countries. All they want to do is dream about their house. And now on the other side, the minute that a girl starts telling me about the dream of her house or her car or whatever, or her sports, or any man tells me about these things, I want to say, get a life. Is that all there is to life, is to be another cog in the wheel? To be another person that buys a house? There's nothing special about buying a house. But Walden Pond was a safe place. And I want you to find a safe place in your head to have your dreams. And I want you to find safe people to talk about. And most people that are your friends are not safe people. They will criticize your dreams. And that is not a friend. But conquer 3 things a day and you'll become stronger. Once you become the master. See, a person that has a mastery, like I'm really good at real estate sales, SEO, search engine optimization. I'm really good at travel. I'm really good at writing. I have all these things right at my 10th. Once you become really good at skilled something, you become a somebody. And then you have an expertise, and then you're not comparing yourself to other people. So become the master of something. Conquer your 3 things, and you can become the master of anything. I don't know, this guy in the box of Wheaties used to say, he had a thing about it's easy to be great. All you got to do to be great is read 1 book a month, and you're in the top 1%. If you run around the block, you're in the top 1% of things. It's so easy to be great, it's ridiculous. But everybody wants to come up with these negative things. Like I was talking about bucket lists, and this one guy was telling me, Webb, there's a problem. I said, a bucket list is just a dream list. There's no way you can hurt anybody by getting somebody to dream. And he says, but they don't achieve them. And I go, nobody achieves their goal because they don't even know how to start the goal. But let's start out with your imagination. You know what a woman's greatest asset is? It's a man's imagination. I always, when I was talking to women, I often say, call me at 11 o'clock at night when you go home. And they go, why would you? And the women will sit there and go, okay, I'm calling you. Why am I calling? Because I said, I want the last person you think about to be me. Okay. And I want them to have an imagination of me. But people think that I have nothing to offer women because I only have $450. And I'm telling women this on purpose. Why? Because if they only want me for money, that's a prostitute. Like, I don't want to buy a prostitute by buying a car, a house, and having a job. I don't want to buy prostitutes. Prostitutes are a dime a dozen. They cost $20 in Thailand. You can have all the sex you ever dreamed of. And the crazy ones go to Costa Rica and pay $100. I mean, absolutely insane. I mean, and they're ugly and fat there. But everybody dreams about something. But I want you to dream about a reality world. I don't want it to be a fantasy, but you have to get up the mastery of yourself where you say, I could do. So, how do you achieve a goal? How do you achieve your imagination? It's not by doing 1,000 things in one day. It's doing one little piece of that thing every day. You can read one book a year you can write a book so easy. If you write one page a day, for 1 year, you've written a 365-page book. Anybody can write a book. And now with the self-publishing, anybody can publish it. I live in a world where if anything is bad, I can move to a better world. One of the greatest things about my life is I sort of dream about a place. I never study the place. I do not study because what people write, the documentaries, the videos are all 100% lies. I do not trust any video maker I ever seen. They will create a sack of crap. They edit everything. They got bling. They put music in the background. They try to create a thing for you to masturbate to. That's what it is. It's a masturbation video. It's video porn. It's a type of porn that you are screwing with your brain. You're getting this endorphin rush because you're watching something you're never going to do. And if you ever go there, you're going to be really angry at that person because it doesn't exist. But when I have a place where I don't want to be, I move to another place. I conquer this country. I will conquer a new city all the time. I will do it for the rest of my life. Right now, I'm dealing with bigger and bigger problems to solve. But I love to solve a problem. I love a problem. I've been watching young Sheldon, and he's young Sheldon Cooper from the Big Bang Theory, but he's like 9 or 10 years old. And he says, oh, a problem. I mean, this guy revels in a problem. I love problems because it gives me something to do. I conquer women. You conquer a woman. You woo her. If you are not willing to woo a woman, get out of the game. Get out of the genetic pool. Go find a guy to have sex with. If you're a man, have sex with a guy. I like it. There's less competition. But conquering a person is endearing yourself, becoming a person that they want also. It's not taking them by force. Most men want to buy their way through. That's what we've been taught in society. If you earn enough money, you can buy people. People imagine a world that is dangerous. 90% of the people that are sending me something are sending me why I'm going to get killed going to someplace. And I go, what is your default setting? You're always upset that you're going to die? I have lived in hell. There's no way anybody can put me in a place that would be, that would be too painful, right? I've lived on $1 a day. Okay, I've lived, and I've always been a lot happier without money than I ever have when I had a lot of money. But people say I don't have money. I live on less than $20 a day. Travel the world. How much is the cheapest you can travel? I don't know. You can probably travel the world for $400 pretty easy. It's going to take a lot of work and a lot of study and a lot of really walking around and finding the cheaper deals. But people would try to ask me, what restaurants do I go to? I don't go to restaurants unless I'm doing it for social stuff. I go to restaurants to drink coffee, sit around, look at people. But I go to a supermarket so I eat the optimum food at the best value. Why would I go to a restaurant and blow cash? But I conquer 3 things a day, and it's not boring stuff. But everybody's too fat because they talk about their debaucherous things. Debauchery is like the 7 deadly sins of lust, greed. And have you learned at age 20? Have you learned at age 50? Have you learned at age 80 that all these debaucherous things are just masturbation in the bathroom, right? That's all they are, is you feeling good for a very short time. Not because you conquered something, because you did something of merit. It's because you did it. It's like Joe Biden. He really has done very little in his life except been a politician. And then they complain about Donald Trump, and they just defined him as being richer than George Soros. He's worth $7 billion. One of my friends called me yesterday, and he says, oh, and Donald Trump borrowed $179 million from another millionaire. And I go, like you could do that? Like anybody would trust you to loan you 170. I don't care if he loan. He's worth $7 billion. Having 170 some million dollars around is not what people do. They don't just have that kind of cash. They make their cash work for them. Believe in hope and imagination. I want people to read Henry David Thoreau because he gave you a reality that's true, and he talks about society in an irreverent way. And don't get me wrong, like I'm reading The Pond right now. I'm reading all the chapters, and I separated them into see each in EPUB and Mobi things, so I can put them on my smartphone, and you read them on FB Reader. And I can take notes, and they're manageable. Okay, and so I keep doing it, but it's really funny. I mean, the pond one is really him just mentally in love with the pond. And that's kind of the imagination, the fantasy that people need. They need to go into another dimension, another world where they can dream. And I know all of you are dreaming of another world. I can imagine right now I could sit there and start talking about getting on the back of a motorcycle, and you're driving with the wind blowing, and you can start visualizing this. You can have the imagination work. But what is the reason for imagination if we don't do a little bit of it into a game? Why do we dream of another world if we don't? And if a person's talking about their dreams and their imaginations and this fantasy world, and they don't have any road map on how to go there, they're just porn. It's just a mental porn, some sort of masturbation in your brain. When somebody isn't telling me how to pragmatically, practically, consistently create a habit of becoming a better person, all they're doing is selling me a dream that's. But they know that you're talking to the 19%. I don't want to talk to the 19%. Not the 19 out of 20 or the 95%. I don't want to talk to you. I'm talking to the person that wants to do something. If you don't want to do something, you're not going to get near me. If you're not a person that says, I'm going to see this, I'm going to do it, I'm going to teach it, why am I talking to you? If you are not going to go do something and all you're going to do is tell me about the videos you're watching, the books you're just wanting to talk, and I have no clue what you're up to. You're a loser. A loser just talks about something. A winner does something. See something, do it, then learn to teach it. Okay. Your imagination, whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, he can achieve. Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Whatever the mind of man, it can conceive and believe. And generally, the protection here is we dream and believe in something that we actually can do. So you have the capacity to do it if you dream about it. On a side note, I put up all these things on the walls for all my goals. I got my goal worksheet on the wall. I got the I have all my goals, and I put them all over the place. And people would come in my room and think I was crazy, but I get something done and you don't. I get something done and you don't. I'm here and you're not. Why not? Okay, life is good, guys. And life gets better all the day if you get rid of the losers. 19 out of 20 people are never going to accomplish anything in their life. They're just going to put in their time, and they're going to wake up, go to work, and die. Is that the life you want to live? It's the question. Are you just going to get up, wake, have sex, have a couple babies, and then die? Is that the goal that you dream of?